Hello and welcome to another episode of Anniversary Edition. Today we are going to be spending some time talking about Godzilla, which celebrates its 65th anniversary this year. Obviously we are going to spoil the film as always, so do go and watch it first and then come back and have a little listen to what we've got to say. I'm Sophie and I am here today with Tom.
Hello.
And Adam.
Hey Sophie, how's it going?
Hey, it's good. How's things going with you guys?
Yeah, fine. It's not bad.
Yeah, pretty good.
Certainly going better for me than it went for Godzilla.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about Godzilla.
I am quite excited, yeah. that wasn't convincing, was it?
No.
So Godzilla, yes, is 1954 Japanese creature feature. Please excuse my pronunciation. Directed by Ishiro Honda. Obviously, I've written a little exciting storyline.
Obviously.
Synopses.
And synopses,
You've managed to make this exciting. Okay.
Well, no, I haven't at all. Nuclear weapons testing has created a Jurassic-like monster who subsequently wreaks havoc in Tokyo, bringing disaster to the city.
Jurassic-like, I like that.
Yeah.
You decided not to go Jurassic-esque.
No, I thought Jurassic-like was a bit more suitable.
Yeah. Sure, Jurassic-ish?
Jurassic-ish?
Jurassic?
Yeah, I quite like that. Jurassic-ish. So okay, top line. Do you know what? I'm gonna go first on this. It wasn't awful.
Oh.
Controversial.
I know, and I kind of, there were parts in it where I was like, oh gosh, this is long, and it's not really a long film at all.
90 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But I didn't hate it. There was bits of it that I quite liked. The Godzilla-y bit of it, I did not enjoy at all.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of top line-ish.
All right.
Who wants to go next?
Oh,
Tom, you go.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to be the complete opposite. I really like it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Predictions are coming true.
Yeah.
They are, aren't they? Yeah, okay. So you really like this film?
Yeah, I do like it. Yeah. I think people kind of, when you say Godzilla, people think of the kind of the schlocky creature featurey thing, which is true, but I think that's true of the sequels more. And I think this one is a bit more depth to it. And I think there's a lot more going on with it than what is the surface of Godzilla.
This is the Death Wish 1 compared to the Death Wish 2 through.
Yeah. I mean, it's a movie that has something to say.
It's a film that tries to take itself seriously.
Yeah. Well, I think it does take itself seriously.
Yeah.
Way too seriously.
Yeah.
So, Adam, what are your kind of top line thoughts?
I didn't like this film at all.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. And Tom, you're someone, you know, where kind of like where my heart lies in a lot of things, and I wanted to like Godzilla a lot because, you know what? I do like the schlocky Godzilla creature features. I watched a bunch of them. They are interesting to me because it's sort of, you know, they're fight films. And that's great. Godzilla, boy, did I not like this film.
Wow.
I've seen this before 2 or 3 times, and I seem to forget a lot of the elements about this film. Okay. But watching it the third time, I realised I forget a lot about it just because so much of it is forgettable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Sorry, Tom.
Interesting.
Well, so you say you've seen it before. When was the first time that you saw this?
There was a time when I decided to watch all the Godzilla movies, and that was probably around the hype of the US Godzilla remake, before that came out. The Matthew Broderick one?
Yeah, 98.
Oh.
98, yeah.
Broderick is in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he played Godzilla.
You can see how
Joel
invested I
Schumacher,
am in the Godzilla franchise.
Yeah, it was
Was it Roland Emmerich?
pretty crap. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
No,
and I was just like, you know, I really enjoy a lot of, you know, Japanese movies and TV shows and stuff like that. And, you know, the Sentais, Ultraman. So Godzilla, right in my wheelhouse of schlock, OG schlock. The original Godzilla I found dreadfully boring.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just to insert, it was the remake you were talking about is the
Roland
98 one with
Emmerich.
Roland Emmerich,
Yeah.
essentially made by the people that made Independence Day.
Oh, okay.
That holds the distinction of being the first film I remember going to in the cinema that I wanted to leave.
What,
halfway
Independence
through.
Day?
No,
Godzilla. I mean,
I was
you,
like,
need to, you need
what?
to avoid this film.
Yeah. It's really bad.
That
one.
film,
The
I would
1998
probably
one.
enjoy
Yeah.
the 1998 Godzilla more than I'd enjoy
Really?
the
Wow.
1954 Godzilla.
I can't comment between any versions of Godzilla because this is the first time I've seen any of them. Watching for this podcast. That's it's not really my type of film. I I like kind of.
What do you mean it's not your type of film? Go into a bit more detail there, because Godzilla is it's a political film
Yeah.
Well,
more than anything else.
the bits of this that I enjoyed were kind of, though I suppose those elements more so. The actual story behind Godzilla I found much more interesting than actually watching a monster stomp around a city.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, King Kong, all those kinds of, they're not really films that I would look at and see on and think, oh, yeah, I'll put that on. Whereas if I
Right.
saw like, Iron Man or something like that, which
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something that's also like actiony and kind of,
Godzilla's not actiony.
Well,
let's be honest.
that's
Godzilla's
what-
less actiony than King Kong is.
yeah, but you
Yeah.
think it should be. I mean, coming at it from the fact that like I had not seen this before, I was kind of expecting, and even Creature of the Black Lagoon, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I preferred over this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
absolutely.
less actiony, actually, but I guess it kind of was. But all the scenes for me, like where Godzilla is sort of stomping around Tokyo, I sort of switched off to that.
It looks terrible.
It looks really bad.
And what really occurs? Well, this isn't an original thought at all by any means. Godzilla isn't a monster movie in the way that a lot of later films became and crafted the monster movie genre. Godzilla is a disaster movie where the disaster sort of fails to happen.
Well, yes and no, because it's dealing with what is kind of what makes it unique and interesting, I think, is the fact that it's clearly about the threat of nuclear
Yeah,
bombs
sure.
made by the only culture and people to ever have been on the receiving end of one.
Yeah.
Less than
The
10
film
years.
references it.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Yeah.
less than 10 years after that event occurred. So for me, I always look at it, I always think it's interesting because it comes across almost like a national counselling session. Like it's almost like they're trying to have a cathartic moment about this tragedy that has occurred and try and understand why it was allowed to happen.
Yeah.
And
Through art.
yeah, but I mean, it's just normal people kind of trying to process stuff in the way they know how.
Yeah.
It's,
Absolutely.
It's a significant film.
yeah,
It's really significant. And I think interesting, like I think Adam, you mentioned earlier, Death Wish, which for me was such an over politicized film that I couldn't really enjoy the film part of it.
Right.
Whereas for me, with this, interestingly, all of that kind of political storytelling, I engaged with a lot
interesting.
more. And I think because I saw the relevance of it, and
It's the opposite message too.
well, yeah, exactly.
You've gone from having a gun is good to that nuke really was pretty bad though.
Well, and it's really reflective. It's a man-made problem. It's exacerbated. It's nature exacerbated and wrecked by humans. And I didn't mind it. And I didn't think it was over. I didn't think the messaging in that respect was too much.
No.
That it took away from the film.
No, I agree there.
Yeah.
So the producer kind of stated that the main theme was that you have this terror of the man-made bomb, and what if if you gave that power to a natural force, i.e. Godzilla,
Yep.
and it became like you have, it's an unstoppable force, basically, right? And
Yeah.
so what it's really getting at is if you have that power, you have to use it responsibly.
Yes. Well, yeah, because the I'm so sorry, I can't remember his name. The scientist who figures out and finds the
Serizawa?
yes,
Yeah.
the oxygen.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that killed
The oxygen
Godzilla.
bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good God.
Obviously wants to use it responsibly, burns everything, and
Yes.
the second he says, I'm the only one that's gonna.
Yeah. You know what he's going to do.
I can be used to, even though my files are gone, I can be the one that's going to be used to forcibly to use it again.
Yeah.
And then that second that he's going to kill himself.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of an odd one though, because the way that they kill, like you were saying, Tom, that kind of man-exacerbated, man-made problem is with another weapon.
Yeah.
So
the
You used a
point
bomb
is,
to kill a bomb.
yeah.
but the point is that I think that the film starts with a nuclear test, which is supposed to awaken Godzilla, this ancient animal, and infuse him with all of these radiation and radioactive powers, right? So I think that there is nature's response to the man-made bomb that has no responsibility. So then Godzilla is essentially the Americans with the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
And then there's Japan reacting to that, being devastated by that and saying, okay, we know how to kill this, but we're going to do it in a responsible way, in that we are not going to allow that technology to go further. So it's kind of like,
Yeah, it's as contained as it can be.
Yeah.
As a way of killing
Yeah.
Godzilla.
So yes, because you have to do that at the end of the movie. But that's why I find it so fascinating, because it's this country trying to deal with what has happened to them and finding a way to tell that story.
Yeah, and that I like I said, I think actually Adam, you said it's a really relevant film. Like it's worth talking about for that.
Yeah.
As a film, kind of to watch and think, I want to sit down and watch a movie with some popcorn and watch a scary monster film.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely
So
that.
Yeah. Okay. So I think if that's what you wanted, you'd probably watch one of the many, many sequels.
Sure. You want to watch Godzilla versus
Whatever.
King Ghidorah or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Tom, interestingly, actually, when did you first see this?
So I remember I would have been in my early teens when I first got like a television in my bedroom.
Oh, okay.
And my first sort of exposure to things like martial arts movies and like Godzilla movies and all that kind of stuff would be like Channel 4 or Channel 5 or whatever, really late night, would just show like over the weekend at like, starting at like half midnight, they put one of these films on. And I can remember seeing a bunch of Godzilla movies.
Right, okay.
Whether I saw this one or not, I'm not sure, but I know I'd certainly seen some of them and I'd watched that kind of stuff. And then a few years ago, I watched this for an older podcast I used to do, and that was the first time that I kind of actually, as an adult, sat down and kind of went and watched it. And obviously I'd seen the Roland Emmerich remake before that, but
okay.
Yeah, so this one that I can consciously say, yes, I'd definitely seen it, was probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay,
But
and you liked
I'd
it?
probably seen it before that. And
Straight
I
away.
liked it then, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was
Interesting.
struck by... It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Because in my head, all I had was those thoughts of,
Scary monster film.
Godzilla versus Mothra.
And it is so much more than that. Like, that's really great about it.
Yeah, and I'm fascinated by sort of history, and I've like the wars and like World War II, World War One, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like I'm always kind of fascinated by that sort of stuff, and then to see, it's very rare that you see like a German film about the war, the Second World War, or a Japanese film about the Second World War. At least,
well, for lots of
you
reasons,
see lots of war movies as kids, but it's very rare that you see like that side of it.
Yeah.
So I always find those like really fascinating, things like Das Boot and stuff like that. So I kind of almost lump that in with those, as opposed to movies like Creature from the Black Lagoon, which is what you'd probably more commonly associate it against, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I find it such a interesting and fascinating thing. And
yeah. I think it is really interesting. It doesn't deliver on the kind of action
the
monster
expectation
element. But I suppose if you go in knowing it, then it's a slightly different experience watching it.
Yeah.
But then that said, I don't even know if that had been executed really well. I don't know if it would.
Because all of the
stuff would get lost, maybe.
All of the stuff with Godzilla, i.e., like the man in the suit, that was not how they wanted to do it.
Okay.
They wanted to do it stop motion like King Kong.
Right.
But they realised that there was pretty much no one in Japan that could do it. There just wasn't the skill base there, and they, doing it in house, they figured it was going to take them about 7 years to do.
My goodness.
Because they just didn't have enough resource to do it. So the man in the rubber suit was kind of settling for just to be able to tell the story and get it out there. Which I personally, I don't know why stuff like this I can just suspend my disbelief and it doesn't really kind of like bother me too much.
Yeah.
But then I think that's because, I think if you think of Godzilla as a genre, which it almost pretty much is on by its own right.
That's fair.
Like it's guys in suits. Like that's just part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of like that sort of side of it doesn't bother me too much, but I do know it was a compromise, definitely.
Okay.
Well, I think the production house didn't have the finances to do it. They were making Seven Samurai at the exact same time, and they nearly went into bankruptcy
because of these two movies were probably the biggest two movies ever. Well, this was the most expensive movie ever made in Japan up until it was up at that point. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it was just like
just too much.
They and what with Kurosawa kind of being Kurosawa and running long and spending
Seven
loads
Samurai
of money.
went way over.
Exactly.
We mentioned in the podcast for that one.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They probably weren't able to execute this with the level of polish that perhaps they wanted.
Yeah. I think watching it as well as a modern day viewer, we've said this so many times, but it's so hard when your expectation is so high. Yeah. To watch something that is of this kind of quality, because like when I was watching it, I kept kind of getting flashes of like, oh, it's really similar to Jason and the Argonauts. It's that sort of stylistically.
I can see that. Or that was later, wasn't it?
But it's that kind of Sunday afternoon. Yes. Oh, it's on ITV or BBC or whatever. And it's like your parents are kind of watching it and they're like, oh, I remember this. And, I watched this when I was a kid, whatever. And yeah, it kind of sat there for me, I think. Yeah. Adam, I'm going to come to you. I know you didn't love this film.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of favourite moments, favourite scenes, or...?
So my favourite scene from the film was when we see Godzilla for the first time poking his head up over the hill and you see the people run away from him.
Okay.
Because then you have these two effects combined in a way that actually works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works. And every other time you see Godzilla on his own walking through, it
doesn't work.
It doesn't work because you have to you have to force yourself to not notice how clumsy the set is.
Yeah. I think maybe the problem you have then is the miniature models.
Yes,
because
and that's really
what you
me.
don't have in that
scene.
Like miniatures are that's a very difficult thing to pull off. Well,
it is. It's super difficult.
And it was so obvious that that's what it was as well. When you're watching it and you're watching the telephone pole thing fall down on the house. And you're like, oh, okay.
Like, that's not made of
Do you need
what
tiny
it's
house?
supposed to be made of.
No.
It's not... that is a problem. It's one of my lower down problems.
Right.
Way lower down. Because I expect it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly, you do.
But that was my favourite scene.
That's your favourite scene. Okay. Tom, how about you? Favourite moment or scene?
There's part of me that really likes the stuff that you don't. and that is the actual attack on Japan, where it is the dude in the suit stomping on the miniatures. Because I like that just because it is like they're the images you think of when you think of a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
But having said that, I also really like. I've said before how much I like Takashi Shimura.
Yep.
Who's in Seven Samurai.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did he make both these films at the same time? If there's both films from production at the same time, he must have been off on one set onto another.
Now you know why he has such a bad bald cap in Seven Samurai.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like I just find him mesmerising to watch.
Yeah.
So most of his scenes I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
He's the best performance in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
That's saying nothing.
But I mean, I think that he has a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of exposition.
Yeah.
He does.
Which is scientifically dubious. But all the same, he does it with great gravitas, I think.
Yeah.
So, like you say, that sort of stuff where the political elements coming through and all almost like the courtroom hearing kind of things where they're, I quite like that sort of side of it as well.
Interesting. So for me, I think I kind of, the first time I saw Godzilla, I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then I don't think it was my favourite, but it was my favourite scene of Godzilla.
Right.
But I think I probably, the little love triangle between the three characters, the only scene that I think I was like, oh, okay, was when Serizawa, when he looks at the other two and realises that they're in love and they're together, I was like, oh, that's just sort of solidified the fact that he's going to go kill himself.
Yeah.
That was probably my favourite moment.
I would have thought the bit for him where he was going to solidify that he was going to kill himself was when he made it very clear to Emiko, who's the woman in the love triangle.
Yeah.
He sort of says to her, I can destroy all these papers, but the knowledge is still in me.
Yes.
But I have to stop this.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that he's saying he's going to burn everything and he's going to kill himself.
And I think that happens just before, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of. And he's kind of saying, but you can't tell anyone about this.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, okay, I won't tell my dad, who's Takeshi Shimura's character. And she's like, yeah, fine, all right, I just won't tell my dad. And he's kind of like, oh, do you not realise that he's going to kill himself, or do you just don't care?
Yeah,
that's how it comes across.
I don't think she is portrayed as an astute enough character to
realise.
She's an idiot.
I mean, she's not lovable.
No,
to the audience.
But I like.
Oh, she's dreadful.
I mean, when she cries, I was like,
oh, God, it's disgusting.
It's like, if you're going to cry properly, or just don't.
Yeah. It's the same problem I had, by the way, if you remember, with Seven Samurai. That whenever people cried, they just play a whale track over someone just having water thrown over their face.
Fall on the floor, scream and sob thing going on.
It's like we were saying then with the like you've got Takeshi Shimura doing like what you
screen acting.
Yeah.
And then I think he genuinely like the other people around him have to raise their game.
Yeah, they do.
But they don't understand how to do that.
No.
Because
some of the guys do more. I think
Serizawa
and Agata.
Serizawa, I'm just preempting you on this one, is listed as actually my favourite character.
Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, he's fine. He's a bit tortured. I like that.
He's got that as
good.
a character. He's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I can see why he'd be a favorite character.
Mm-hmm.
My second point on this on my list of notes is this is just Japanese people screaming into bad microphones for 90 minutes. I could see it coming. It's the second note I wrote down because it's the exact same thing that happened +2 with Seven Samurai.
Yeah, it was worse than Seven Samurai.
People screaming into terrible, crappy microphones.
Yeah, the audio isn't great.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's probably my favourite little bit, because I think that he knows he's going to do it.
Yeah.
But as soon as he realises that he's lost her, that's just like the last little.
Yeah.
It just pushes him over the edge. And the thing is that he thinks he's doing the right thing because he's protecting, the world.
He is doing the right thing.
For years from I guess another.
Yeah, it's weird because it almost you can almost get the vibe at the beginning that he's a bit of like not quite an evil scientist, but
you do.
He looks like
the eye
could be Dr. No.
When exactly.
But it's we find out that he had a very difficult war and he's scarred from that. That's why he lost his eye.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And
I like it. It's good characters, well built.
Yeah, lots
really
of
well
depth
built.
to it, and but like he then becomes the voice of nobility and reason.
Yeah. I mean, he's the unsung hero. Is he unsung?
Yeah, well, we never find out whether it's sung. The film ends.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it literally does just bam.
It is just literally like, okay, done. Tick.
But I think
Roll
it's kind of
credits.
interesting that they broach that same thing that Creature from the Black Lagoon does. That like, here's this thing that can kill us. Should we kill it, or should we study it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think Creature from the Black Lagoon, they probably could have studied
Easily. Yeah.
Godzilla, not so
Probably
much.
not so much. No.
I feel like there's no controlling Godzilla really.
No. Put it in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
So yeah, Adam, you totally did preempt my question. Favorite character?
Yeah, I mean, you heard me.
Easy,
Serizawa.
done. Okay.
Serizawa is well built. You look at him,
Yeah.
and for all the sort of bland characterization in Godzilla, of which I don't know how we're supposed to care about that romantic triangle one bit.
Oh yeah.
No
you
idea.
don't.
The woman is useless. The other guy, useless. Serizawa, interesting.
I wouldn't say Agato is useless. He's not as interesting as Serizawa.
No, not at all.
Serizawa is the person you look at and think, oh, here's an actual character. This guy is. You look at him and you think, oh, he's been through something. He's scowling a lot.
Yeah.
He has characterization. You look at him and you can guess what to expect from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Agato's just like, I'm the male lead.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, they're just-
I have a good haircut,
They're very
and I
two-dimensional.
iron my shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a proper character.
It's piss off. It's so boring.
They are pretty dull as a
Yeah.
couple romantic leads.
Yeah.
Just no.
Yeah.
They're very 2D.
Romantic leads
and
often are dull, though,
undimensional.
right?
Yeah, they're not the best.
Yeah. You have to make them very virtuous.
Yeah.
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 So Tom, who is your favourite? I think you mentioned this, but
Well, no, I mean, I'd agree with Adam that I think Serizawa is probably the most intriguing character.
yeah.
Like, if you were going to do a spin-off movie, that's who I'd want it about because, like, that's there's so much to explore with him.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like you say, there's just so much backstory and what have you. Performance. I mean, you can't trump Shimura
No.
at all.
Yeah, he's my favourite too.
Yeah, he just you just watch him.
He's magnetic.
Absolutely,
Like the
yeah.
second he's in a scene, your
Yeah.
eyes are just on
Yeah,
him for
'cause
the
you're just like-
entire thing.
You're like, what's he gonna do? And then he
Yeah.
doesn't really do anything, and you're
It's
just
so
like, that's so
subtle.
good.
I know.
Just like,
I know. You're like, oh my god, he's just sat there. Oh my gosh, he looks the same as he did when he watched
Yeah,
it. Oh,
yeah.
that was amazing.
I'm gonna dig out a copy of Ikaru for you guys to watch
Oh,
because
yeah.
I think you need to see it.
Yeah, he's great in it. But I do like Adam and Tom. I totally agree. The character, the best character is Serizawa. I think the most interesting. So Tom, I'm going to come to you first because I know that Adam thinks there's loads that's odd about this film.
Oh yeah, totally. Let's go to Tom first.
So what's odd about this film, or that you don't like?
It's very difficult because I mean, like I said earlier, Godzilla is very much its own thing. Like in terms of it's almost like its own little mini genre in of itself. So there are certain concessions that I feel like I can make that I'd normally be really picky about. So all of the effects and all of that kind of stuff and the science and what have you. But it's kind of because it's a unique thing of itself. Then that doesn't really bother me too much. Some of the science and the dating of the science is a bit weird, but then I don't know if that's just because 65 years later, we just have a more accurate representation of like the eras of archaeological dates and paleontology and all that kind of stuff, or whether they just thought that sounds like a long time ago, let's go with that. So I'm not sure really about that stuff. What do I find? So the weird thing for me is it's kind of like, I think it's got a very clear theme, but you can kind of look at it in a couple of different ways that kind of muddies it a bit. Yeah. So, for example, is Japan and Godzilla, America and the atomic bomb? Or could you argue that actually Godzilla is Japan and the Japanese are America, but being responsible? So there's a few kind of ways you can look at that theme and that dynamic of
play around
what
with
it's supposed to represent, which I think makes it both very interesting but also a little bit confusing when you're looking at it in that way, in that political thematic way. I think so I think that the message they're trying to get across, they could have made just slightly clearer in a way. Yeah. But then, would that have been just really ham-fisted and obvious? It's difficult to say, really.
Okay. Anything else that you don't like or that you think is a bit strange?
No, not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay. So, Adam, how big is the list?
It's a full page, which isn't as bad as some films, but Tom was worried about any changes to this film being ham-fisted and obvious. This entire film is ham-fisted and obvious. There's no subtlety to it, no nuance, very little artistry to it. My list includes complaints like terrible dialogue, audio crackle throughout the film. There are flash frames in this film. No idea. Extreme contrast when you shoot black and white on a very sunny day. Don't do it. How about just don't do it?
I mean, if they were filming Seven Samurai, maybe they had scheduling issues.
Just don't do it, though. Here's what I'm saying. Just don't do it. The scene when they're outside and they're hiking before Godzilla shows up, it's like a white screen with black lines just sort of picking people out and landscape because it's so sunny. Yeah. And they're basically shooting almost into the sun.
Into it.
And it's so low quality. It's awful to look at. Whenever someone says anything to the girl, not to the girl that needs a reaction, she goes, I must go. How you doing? She's dreadful. Hate her. I hate her.
Wow. You actually hate her.
I really do. For everyone who's not like Serizawa, and the other guy whose name has just left my head, Shimura's character.
Yeah. Dr. Yamane?
Yamane?
Yeah.
Everyone else feels like they're being played by Keanu Reeves, but his heart's not really in it. It's that robotic. No one else has really any idea how to act or how to be a character. They've got stage directions and they're gonna do those stage directions, damn it, whether they feel like their character has any ounce of humanity or not. The effects are bad, which is fine. You'd expect it from a movie of that time. That's okay. I'm fully okay with the effects being bad. They made Godzilla movies for 40 years after them with very similar paper building effects. Yeah. But towards the end, when they can't even realistically displace water, there we have a problem.
The water.
Right. How do you fail to make water convincingly splash?
Well, here's the thing. This is actually going to relate slightly to the film that we're doing next. There is a thing, you can't miniaturize water, so it's very difficult when you're doing miniatures.
Yeah, of course, because you can't
make it smaller.
Water's not malleable in that way.
No.
They didn't have to. They didn't really have to. They miniaturized the water, and so you've got droplets thrown onto the scene as big as boulders.
Yeah.
But they didn't have to. They're just showing splashing water. Just film some splashing water. Just do that instead. Drove me mad.
I did like the music in that bit, though.
The score is...
I have very few notes on the music, which, congratulations,
Yay.
Godzilla.
Yeah, it's a bit of an iconic score, like the main theme.
Ah, okay. See, that kind of passed me by.
Yeah.
But the music in that water scene, I was just sort of not watching it and kind of just listening to the music.
Yeah. Godzilla himself is slow and pondering and a tank.
Now, I was trying to work out if the footage was
Slows down.
Well,
which I think some of it was, because I think they wanted
it was.
to be. He's
because
supposed to be
when things are large and
Huge
far away, they
dinosaur.
look like they're moving slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Realistically, that's not how it would work, but sure.
Yeah. I think also that comes down to
He's
the
not
fact
that big. He's the size of a...
He's 150 feet.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably due to the fact that the suit was made out of like such dense foam rubber.
Yeah.
The guy could barely move
Yeah.
in it. So
That makes
he
sense.
had
I could
to
see
move
that.
slowly. So
Godzilla was I never felt like he was threatening
No.
or a threat.
Well, I was...
Or threatened, sorry. A threat or threatened. He was clearly invulnerable to everything apart from I'm not going to go into the oxygen bomb. But
it's
he could tank anything, and the damage he was doing, I mean, if we're really going to compare this to an H-bomb,
yeah.
he's a hand grenade. He can stomp on partial buildings and breathe, quote unquote, fire
Oh,
or
that
whatever it
is-
was.
Radiation.
Breathe radiation.
Yeah.
to then blow things up.
Yeah. Which
And melt things. And,
which is
Sure.
just an improper
I mean,
idea of
yeah, I know.
what
It's,
that
but
is.
that's because like people didn't really understand the effects of radiation.
Well,
Okay. At
yeah.
that level.
Unfortunately, people in Nagasaki and Hiroshima were going to find out for generations
exactly.
to come.
Yes.
But
Yes.
he really just sort of breathes out smoke,
Yes.
steam,
It's-
whatever it is.
Yeah. It doesn't look
Yeah.
threatening what he's breathing out.
I never felt like Godzilla was doing... I mean, admittedly, yes, Godzilla is a problem that needs to be stopped.
Sure.
But
He's not
Yeah.
scary at any point. Like I think
No,
I said
he's
this
not
to you,
scary.
Mum.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's not a scary monster.
he's
is
not a
he?
scary monster at all.
Like you don't fear. It's like, oh, Godzilla's coming. And the only
Yeah.
kind of time that you have any sort of people really believably, if that's the right phrase, reacting to the threat of Godzilla is when like he accidentally sort of stands on their house
Yeah.
and then their house is kind of caving in and they have to try and get out and you're like, oh, that's scary.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a bunch of Keanu Reeves run away. Oh my God, they've just broken my house.
But like when he's kind of breathing the radiation and the fire was everywhere, like it doesn't, I think for me, because it's so, I just couldn't,
You couldn't suspend your disbelief.
no, I just couldn't. And
It
it was
was-
so unrealistic. And I was just like, it's not frightening. It's not scary. It's not anything. The only
Yeah.
bit is when the reporters, I think, before they get eaten.
Oh yeah. On the
Yeah, and you've got kind of this like just wave of fire. And I mean, like we say, the effects of the fire are terrible.
Yeah.
But that's the only scene
that wasn't
you-
bad, actually.
No, but that's the only scene that I actually thought, oh, that's really kind of.
You
oh,
see- you
that's
can
not
see the
true. I've just
impact.
remembered. When you see the impact and the scale of what's
Yeah.
happening. And
Yeah.
the other time is when they're in the hospital and the children are like, there's loads of kids without their parents and they're like crying. And I was like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah. So
I think just before we get, I
Yeah.
think the director and the producer nearly got arrested for going because they went up on an observation deck of a skyscraper and were planning what would the route of destruction be, and
Right.
someone overheard them and they called the cops and they nearly got arrested for
Oh my
thinking they were going to
gosh.
plan some
Yeah.
kind of like
And they're like, no, we're just making a monster movie.
yeah.
So in the mind of, in the theme of, we were just saying that Godzilla seems sort of like, he seems like a nothing. He's like a storm for all the...
Yeah.
He has no personality and you don't really care about
No
him. He just
plan.
seems... Yeah,
Like,
no
he's-
personality, no plan. Am I right in thinking, and this is sort of an old assumption for me, that Godzilla was in some way inspired by King Kong?
Ooh, I don't know.
Probably. Look, but
Because if that is the case, they're learning the wrong lessons from King Kong. The reason why people liked King Kong is because he fell in love with a woman, and then he got bullied to death.
Yeah, yes. But
so that's something. That's a dimension to the monster that you need.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's why we liked the monster in Creature from the Black Lagoon, because there was a dimension
story.
there. Yeah, and it wasn't really supposed to be there, I don't think,
No.
but it was.
Yeah, it was just reacting to the environment it was in, and it got punished for it.
Whereas
Godzilla's he's a nothing. He's Hurricane Katrina.
The concept was thought up when, I think it was the writer or the producer. One of them was on an aeroplane, and he was just looking down at the water below as they were going over an ocean, and it was just like, what is underneath that?
Yeah,
what could be there that could come up?
I mean, it's all there, that it's got the potential to be like threatening and scary. And
I think they've kind of got away from that sort of that King Kongy style stuff because of the whole nuclear war element. That's what that's the message.
They've gone away from the naturalism of King Kong into
the monster actually being an animal with an agenda or
but
a need for something.
He's just supposed to be a devastating thing, a force. So
but it's weird because they plant the seeds there, because they say obviously that there's this like mythological story of Godzilla, and when there weren't enough fish in the sea,
they sacrificed
a girl, and I'm like, if he's eating fish, why has he come to land to eat a bunch of humans? Like, if fish is his normal diet, because they're not that big, right? I mean, unless he's eating like, I don't know, sharks.
I mean, normal sized fish that humans would eat as well, they'd be like plankton to Godzilla.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, if that's what he's normally eating, why would he have an appetite for humans?
Eat a blue whale.
But that's why they sacrifice her, because he's eaten so many of the fish that there are none for them to fish. So they sacrifice a human because it's bigger, fill him up longer.
So the idea behind sacrificing humans would be that if you can reduce your own population, you need less food.
Well, I mean, it's to appease the monster.
Yeah, I would have thought it would be to appease the monster, to stop him from eating your food.
But I mean, the story of Godzilla maybe, but, historically, human sacrifice to appease a shortage of food, the consequences of that would be way more important than the imaginary god.
Of course.
So do you think Godzilla really cared that there was a girl being sacrificed in his name? Godzilla don't care.
At all.
No.
Godzilla ain't got time for that.
Well, sure.
He doesn't react to anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't see people as things, or building as things, or people as things. He has no emotions, no
kind
drive.
Of like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah. No, a bull in a china shop is angry. Godzilla is
not
on
a bull
lithium.
in a china shop doesn't have to be angry. Just like a bull just walking around a china shop, just like, oh god, knocking into things, like with absolutely no understanding of like their own size and the fact that they're squishing stuff as they walk through the china shop. That's
I guess
what Godzilla's like. He's just sort of fumbling around.
Nothing. He's just nothing. He's a storm. He's literally a tsunami.
Well,
and that's it.
He's supposed to be a natural.
He's the personification.
So it's a disaster movie. It's a disaster. This isn't a monster movie.
No,
it's a disaster movie. But the disaster's a bit crap.
Yeah. Well, like, if you think of disaster movies,
It's
like even
Twister.
old school ones, like Twister, yes.
But
like
with a
that one,
crap twister.
by the way. But yeah,
It's the day after tomorrow, but like, it's a bit below minus today, isn't it?
Yeah, because when you have something like that, like in Twister, you're not expecting an agenda from the thing that's causing the chaos, because it just is a thing, and it's the weather, it will stop at some point, in theory, or it won't, and you'll have to just get used to it.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't. There is no way you can stop a storm. Like, there's no, but potentially you can stop Godzilla.
Well, yeah, and I understand why they made it like that.
Well, as the film starts, the theory is you can stop Godzilla, and then you find out you can't really stop Godzilla. You could probably stop a storm. They've got ideas of shooting lasers into the eyes of storms while they're still at the ocean.
Oh, really?
To disrupt the weather, to reduce the air pressure.
Interesting.
That's very
So
interesting.
in future, we'll absolutely be able to stop storms, and this entire podcast will be moot. This is why I hate Godzilla. In this film.
Right.
In future films, Godzilla's there to protect Tokyo, and he likes people and stuff, and he doesn't like being attacked, and he wins fights. And that's very basic, but at least that's a dimension. It's still one fewer dimensions than King Kong probably has. But how can you have a film in the 1930s with a monster that has so much more... He's so much more interesting. When people say, who do you like, who do you prefer, Godzilla or King Kong? They're not really asking the right question.
For me, the effects I can't really forgive because they're
so bad.
Really bad. Like I said, it was just Jason and the Argonauts again for me, but in a different place with different characters.
Jason and the Argonauts had a functioning blue screen.
Well, yeah, there you go. I mean, it's not, obviously, but it was that sort of unrealistic in places as Jason and the Argonauts was, that I was just like, oh gosh, that's just really unbelievable. But like I said, I think it's still an important, because of all the messaging that's there, I definitely think it's an important film. But for me, that was just too much for me to not find really odd watching. I was like, oh.
I'd be fascinated to know whether, if you watched like one of the sequels where it is more
monster
schlocky movie, whether you'd actually enjoy that more or less.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
I'd be really intrigued.
It's just a fantasy fight, almost in the same vein as Celebrity Deathmatch.
Right, yeah.
But weird space monsters.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sure. I guess that's just what I was just expecting. That I wasn't expecting, and I was pleasantly surprised to have the messaging from the other stuff, like the other side of the coin, I guess. But yeah, that was bad, and the acting was not great in places, apart from, obviously the characters and performances we talked about. But yeah, those are probably the things that I was like, oh no, just didn't really
click.
Work.
I try and think of a film in a way that when I watch it today, whether it's good today. Because I almost feel like the argument, it's good for 1954, but it's pointless. We wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't good in 1954.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today, I can't.
Well, yeah.
I could never recommend someone watch this film. Ever.
Really?
I mean, why would you recommend this, Tom? Because
of the cultural significance of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, the effects are bad. A lot of the acting is terrible and stuff like that. But it's such a unique window into that time and place.
Yeah, and that's really interesting.
So this is actually why I like Seven Samurai, because Seven Samurai has many of the same problems as Godzilla in the bad acting, the bad quality, but the direction's a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Seven Samurai really feels like you're in that feudal Japan.
Yeah, it's got a very good, straightforward plot. That's what we're talking about. But I think with this, for me, it's about all of the other stuff. It's about Japan dealing with the aftermath of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yeah. And that's what I think is interesting and compelling about it.
I think we're tentatively not recommending people to watch Godzilla.
Outside of education, maybe we should have like an educational rubber stamp.
yeah.
But for cultural interests, big tick.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening. And next week we are going to be talking about Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
How exciting! No, not exciting at all. Mm-mm.
Adam's not excited. Oh,
wow.
Is this going to be controversial?
Does that mean he hates it?
Dum dum dum.
You'll have to tune in next time. So yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. This podcast was recorded in the Upbeat Studio in Soho. For studio inquiries, drop us an email on studio@upbeatproductions.com. You can also find us on Twitter. Head to @upbeatprod to see what we're up to, and @upbeat_ents for our film coverage and entertainment news.